Welcome back, everyone. My name is Xander Crofts, for those of you who don't know me. What we're about to jump into right now is an entire tutorial from start to finish. And by the end of this video, I am going to show you are going to have a template, full comprehensive for managing your money. If you haven't checked out the video that prefaces this one, I'll link the link in the description. Check that out because it will show you exactly what you're building and why I created it for myself as an alternative to those financial management apps like Personal Capital and Mint and all of the rest of them. I am going to take you from start to finish how to create this thing for yourself, including all of the charts, all of the pivot tables, all the formulas, all the formatting, all the design. Everything is included in this tutorial, this nice one video. I thought about creating it over the course of several videos and over the course of several weeks because I thought, well, I didn't want to overwhelm you, right, with an entire 2-hour long video. But then I thought about for myself, if I was in this position of your, watching the video, I wouldn't really want to have to parse over the course of several videos how to create a spreadsheet from start to finish, right? That's not really something you want to watch in several videos. That's something you want to just sit down and you want to get out of the way. 2 hours long. I try to keep it as concise and engaging as possible. Bear with me, it is Excel and there are very little room for upfront mistakes with the formulas and stuff like that. So the first half or so might be a little dry, but I promise you, if you stick around till the end, it's going to be well worth the investment of your time. Without any financial cost to you, you're going to have this tool that I hope can become your baby, and you can customize it to your own tastes and make it your own. And from then on, you will forever have your financial picture in a more appropriate, a more professional hold and control within your life. So I hope you're excited. Let's dive right in. All right, let's begin. So the first thing, before we actually start diving into building like the spreadsheet and the charts and everything, I mean, of course we have to build like the spreadsheet first before the charts can have any utilization. But before even that, I want you to come over here. You can create a new sheet or you can just start typing them in and then make a new sheet after that. But make the categories that you want to see in your pie chart. So if you remember from the last video, this is what we're building, right? And along with all of this other stuff. But this is really like the main thing. This is where all the information is. And this right here, you can kind of tell, like, I don't know, for me, it's like, it's still a little bit complicated. And these right here, I don't know if you took note of that in the last video, but they're just not even used. Like I have them and I don't know what I had envisioned, but I was just kind of playing around and it ended up, I don't even use them. It just adds unnecessary complexity. So, whatever categories you want to use, whatever categories you do use, these are the ones that you're going to be seeing on that pie chart that you'll probably be spending money on month to month to month. And so obviously you want the obvious ones like your housing expenses, your utilities, gasoline. You can even copy and paste. Well, I guess you can't copy and paste, but you can use these same categories for your own, or you can make it more in depth. You could make it simpler. But I would very much encourage you, whatever categories you do pick, try your best to keep it as simple as possible. So for example, I have personal and professional here. I don't list personal books, personal cell phone, personal dining out or dates, VPN, books, courses, equipment, that's all. If it's anything in here, I'll include a part of this spreadsheet where you can include labeling specifically what you bought. So if you had a subscription to some educational service, for example, you could put that in there and it would never show up in your pie chart, but it would just show up as professional. But you could go back and look at the specific data entry and you could find it and remind yourself, oh yeah, I remember spending money on that. So that's pretty much the gist. Go ahead and pause the video and create those expense categories, and then we'll continue when you go back. So now the first step of this whole process, and really any spreadsheet, is to create the raw data. And the raw data, that's basically like unprocessed data that we need. And so this is where you create, the first thing we need is the row headers that we're going to be using. So right here I have date. That's very, very critical. The amount obviously is very important. The account that you used it in, that's also non-negotiable because you have to know for sure like what account you're using if you want to track for all your accounts. And then the rest of these are kind of you know, you can pick and choose whatever ones you want. I keep in here merchant because sometimes I might be interested in going back and seeing where I spent my money. I don't actually have that anywhere in the dashboard, but I have the data so that if I need to, or if I want to later down the road, I can use that data to, you know, look at, you know, I can summarize the information using statistics or whatever and look at where my money generally goes. Category, if you remember from the last one, I had category maximum and category minimum. That's the core, personal, professional, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do that this time around. It's just, I'm just trying to make it simpler. So just one category column and then label. And label is where, you know, the category one, the category one is where you're going to be keeping the categories from this tab right here that you just create, the tab you just created. The label is where you can put the specific thing that you purchased or however specific you want to get, but it won't show up in your dashboard, but you can have that information just in case you want it later. So it's just about accessibility. Okay, so then that's pretty much all I'm going to include on this left side of the raw data. Now the right side is, everything on the right side is going to be calculated for us. Okay, so we're going to begin here with our accounts. So let's say you have 3 accounts like I do. If you have less or if you have more, you just adjust however many row headers you have here. But I have my first account, which is First Ed, that's the name of my bank, USAA Debit, which is, you know, the name of my debit card, and then my Discover card, which is my my credit card. So if you had more, you would just keep listing them off to the side here, and if you had less, you would just list that many. And then as soon as you're done listing the accounts, now you want to have your earned, spent, and cash flow. That, you know, I understand the cash flow is, you know what, never mind. I'll explain later. Just this redundancy, you know, having earned and spent and cash flow, it might seem a little bit redundant, but it's just going to help a lot later when we create the pivot tables and everything. So cash flow, and then now what you want is however many accounts or whatever accounts you listed here. Now, for every one of them, you're going to list them again, except this time it's going to be their balance. So right here, what we're doing, these columns are for the changes or the change, you know, because each below these it's going to be one row per new transaction. So if you bought something here and it came out of your First Education account or your bank account, whatever, then that would change it here, and the change would be this amount. So that, you know, you spent $42, that'd be negative $42 out of your bank account, and then the balance is what is over here. So the balance post the change is what's listed here. So that's what we're doing now, and you want to do that for every one of your accounts. So I have my debit balance and my Discover balance, and that is one more, and that is the one that probably we're all most excited about, and that's the net cash. So that's the one where it sums all of the balances up and you see exactly what your picture looks like as far as what you have in savings. All right, so let's go ahead and title this. I'm just going to call it data. You can call it raw data. You can call it entries or transactions, whatever you want. And now I'm going to do some basic formatting just to let us know, or let myself know, you know, that we're creating row headers. These are our row headers, and everything beneath them is the data itself. So I'm going to make it stand out here. What I did just now is I just highlighted all of them. A quick trick for that, if you wanted to, is you can click just the one, and since there's a finite amount of like entered information or data or whatever you want to call it, you can click in the one and then Control Shift right arrow, and it'll highlight all of them, and then, you know, there you go, that's your shortcut. And you can use that anywhere. So if we had the data, you know, you could do this and then like down arrow, and it would collect all the way down to the bottom of the table. It wouldn't go all the way down to the bottom of the spreadsheet. So that's just a quick trick. I just Control B to bold them, and now I'm going to put borders. I'm going to do all borders, and then I will make them a little bit wider so that I can see. And then we'll fix that later to make it even a little bit better. All right, so let's put some dummy data in here so we can start actually playing with it. All right, so at this point, you can enter all of your own data if you want to, or you can just enter the dummy data to kind of just build it first, and then you can enter it later, whatever you want to do. This is just dummy data that I made up, and we're going to play with it here. The first thing that I want to do before we create a table, which we need to do in order to do like the pivot tables and stuff, or I guess we don't. Well, yeah, I do think we need to do that, otherwise it won't be able to update. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the formatting here. Of the dates, because I don't like how the date looks. So I'm going to come up here. This is called your quick access toolbar. If you don't see it, that's what you have is probably the default. You can come up here, and your quick access toolbar might even be here, but I think it defaults up here. But anyway, you can, if it's not up here, you can come up here, and I think you can go like, let's see. Well, I don't know how to move it. But you can, if you want to, wherever your quick access toolbar is, I'm sure you can click YouTube. I don't want to waste the time here. But you can move things up to your quick access toolbar, wherever it is, if you have a favorite thing, like let's say you want to move conditional formatting up to your quick access toolbar so you don't have to go to the home tab every time. You just right click it and add to quick access toolbar. Click it, boom, it goes right there. And then you can adjust these to like where they're at. And then the other thing that I have here is I've collapsed my ribbon, so that's right here. You just right click somewhere and you collapse it, and that way it's out of your way and you can start playing with it. So I'm going to do the Control Shift down arrow trick, and I'm going to come up here and change it to short date, and then I'm going to do the same thing here, except for amount. I don't want to see a date, I want to see a currency, or accounting, and so I do currency. That's just my preference. You can do whatever you want. And then all the rest of it looks good because, this is just text. These are just text entries. Although these ones over here, let's see, these, this is money, this is money, this is money, this. So these are all cash. So what I'll do here is, even though we don't have the table yet, I'm just going to go Control Shift down arrow, just make the whole spreadsheet, because that's the only thing we're doing on this sheet. And I'm going to do currency. And so that's already taken care of. These ones down here, you can see that's general. So yeah, it says general, and that's currency, but I think that should fix itself after we create a table, which is what we're going to do right now. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and click in your dummy data after you've done your formatting. You made it a little bit how you like. And now we're going to kind of, basically what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be telling Excel, this is my data for the project that I'm working on in this particular spreadsheet, or at least one of the data sets. I think you probably do more than one, but at least in this case, we're just doing the one. And what you want to do is you just want to click in in your dummy data anywhere in here, as long as it's selecting one of them, and then you're going to go Control T. Okay, and it's going to guess where your data is, and if it's correct, like mine is, you go ahead and click OK. If it's not, then you can adjust it to have the, So my table has headers, yes, because we appropriately made headers, because we are good at Excel and we understand the importance of that. And there you go. So that's our table. And now Excel recognizes that, okay, this is where your data is found, and this is a distinguished set of data that like one of the big important things about this is now if I enter a new one, like, so let's say it's like late February now, it's actually July, but let's say that it's like late February, and I make a new purchase of I don't know, 2240 on my Discover card, and it's from I don't know, Albertsons, and it's groceries, and there you go. And you can add a label in there too. But there you go. See how it automatically added to the table? That's what a table does. You add it to the bottom row, and it will automatically adjust that. And that way, the table, you don't have to, on the other side. Perhaps I'm over explaining this, but if you didn't make the table and you tried to add a new row of data, then when you went to make your chart, or you went to look at your chart, it wouldn't have been updated, because in order to make a chart without the table, you would have just done this, and then have that data be the one that's charted, and then when you add a new row, it wouldn't have been included. So I hope that makes sense. I don't want to bore you, but so anyway, it's just very good to have a table. So now So now what we want is to create the formulas for this side of the table. Everything over here that we already have the dummy data inserted for, those are the pieces of data that you're going to be inputting manually every single time that you create a new transaction. And remember from the last video, you won't have to actually come to this tab. We're going to create a dashboard that's going to be really beautiful. You know, you can design it yourself. You can customize it to your liking. You can even add pieces that I haven't added here. And, you know, you can just use this video as a starting point. Whatever you want to do, you know, you can omit stuff. But this is the raw manually inputted data. And then this other side, everything to the right of this line right here, these are all formulaic. They're all going to be taken care of every time you insert a new tab or a new row of data over on this side will automatically be updated. And so in order for that to happen, we need to create formulas. So the first one we want to start with here is under your first account, we have, for myself, I have the 3, right? I have these 3 right here, and then I have the parallel 3 over here. The difference being that these ones here, I want to account for the change in the appropriate account, and over here I want to know the new balance in the account after the change. And so we're going to do the change first, and so we're going to use an if function. And basically what I'm going to do here is I want to tell Excel, if you see over here in this account column, in this cell right here, that is the same as this row header that you're looking at in, you know, the one right above you, or I guess it could be like several rows above you, but the row header that you're in, that column, if those are the same, which of course in this case they're not, but if they're the same, then what we would want is we want to pull that value. So I put a comma and I said value if true, that amount, because that's what we want if they are the same. Like right here, if it was this one, we wanted to pull this $1,200 value because it affected the first education account that much. But if it didn't, if it's not the same, then it won't have affected that account at all. So what we want, if we don't have the same, which is what we have in this case, is 0. So we're going to click enter. It'll automatically populate the rest of it because we have an Excel table. And there you go. You see that we have 0 values for any of the changes where the change showed up in some other account. If it was a first ed account, then it impacted that account by this amount. So we have a $1,200 increase here, a negative $100 increase here, and all the rest are zeros because none of the other ones were first ed. So we're going to do the same exact thing, except the only difference, as you might be able to guess, is that now it's with a different row header. And so it should be a different answer. Excuse me. There you go. So it accounted for the USAA debit ones, which are here and here, but all the rest of them are 0 because those ones didn't impact it. The last one being the Discover card. And there you go. So that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty straightforward, not very difficult. Now the earned and the spent column, and actually especially the cash flow column, as we go through this, you might be kind of wondering, why are we doing earned and spent and cash flow when any one individual, any one individual transaction, it's either one or the other, right? It's either an earned or it's a spent, and then the cash flow is just that. Like it just seems kind of redundant. But the reason that we do that is because later on we're going to create pivot tables, which I'll show you here in these later tabs. You don't have to create those tabs yet necessarily. If you want to, that's fine. But I've worked ahead and now I'm backtracking. But the reason that we want to do that is because we're going to have pivot tables where basically what we'll be doing in order to create our charts and everything is we'll be dragging over row headers kind of from what are called form fields with our pivot tables. This will all make much more sense later. But we're going to be dragging those over, and we need to have those options to be able to like summarize information very quickly using the pivot tables, and then displaying that information over here in like the pie chart and the expenses column, or the what is this called? A bar chart, I think, clustered column. I think it's called the clustered column chart. So anyway, we need to have it distinguished in our raw data, because otherwise we try to just have the cash flow and then we try to have a pivot table that only shows us what we're spending and then being able to summarize that information. It's not going to be possible, or at least not very difficult. I don't know if it's possible. I wouldn't know how to do it. So anyway, that's why we're doing this, and so bear with me, even though it will seem sort of redundant right now. So the first thing, what we want here, obviously, is whether this, well, actually what we want is we want to first discover, is this a net positive impact on my bottom line? If it is, then we want to have that positive value show up in this column. But if it's not, if it's a negative value, and of course it will never be a zero value, because any transaction is going to be a non-zero value. But if it's a negative impact on my bottom line, then I actually want not it to show up here, but it to be zero, because the negative values will be shown up here. If we had both here, then of course that's what we would be doing, that cash flow thing, right? And that would just mess up the whole pivot table project thing later. So that's what we want. We want zero if it's a negative impact, and we want whatever the positive impact was if it is in fact a positive impact. So the first thing we want to ask Excel is, okay, Excel, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take all of these values, plus, plus, minus because of the debt, and I want you to see, first of all, is that value less than zero? Because if it is, if it's a negative value, then that means we don't want to account for it. We want it to be zero. But if it is anything else, that being, of course, zero or positive, and we're never going to have zero, so it must be positive. If it's going to be positive, then what we want is to account for that value. We want that value to be the one that's pulled. So we just simply do it again, this plus this minus this, and there you go. We earned $1,200 here, which is accurate because we got a paycheck, and we earned $100 here, which is not accurate because this is a card payment, and this is okay. So this is okay. We haven't made a mistake. It's just there's something else that we need to do before we move on here, because you notice the way that I treat my accounts, the way that I manage my money, being like the frugal kind of I don't know what you want to call me that I am. Whenever I spend, like, I have this Discover card, right? And it's a credit card. And every time I use it, if I go to King Soopers or if I go to the gas station, and every time I swipe my card, even though I'm not technically spending my own money right away, I'm actually borrowing somebody else's money. I'm borrowing Discover card bank's money, and then I'm paying that back later right here. Even though that's the case, the way that I manage my money is if I swipe that card, effectively, in my eyes, I've spent that money. And that's the way that I manage my money. That's the way I encourage you to manage your money. And the reason, that being the case, the fact that I do that, when I go and I pay that money back later, I don't want to double account for that and say here that this here in my first ed account, taking away the money, I don't want to double account for that and have that be an expense here. And I also don't want to account for it here, being that the payment off of my credit card is an earning. I don't want to have that be the case either. That's not quite as important, but definitely in the spent column, we don't want to have it show up as an expense, because otherwise we'll have month to month to month, we'll have it be this big bar of this is how much I spent on my credit card. And that's not meaningful, because I didn't actually spend that much. I spent all of the little amounts that I spent from the Discover card at the gas station and at the grocery store, and so on and so forth. So in order to fix that issue, we need to add a little bit to this formula, and we're going to have to do similar things over here on the spent column. But so what we want to do, this whole part of the formula is done. Like, it's taken care of. We just need to add a little bit more. And what we want to add is we want to add another if function. And what we're going to say is, Excel, I want you to look at this label column, because that is where you're going to find, because that label column is where you're going to find the appropriate information you need in order to know whether or not it is this particular row, this transaction or transfer or whatever, is one to be ignored. And if it's not, then you can go ahead and do what you were going to do anyway. But if it is something that should be ignored, then you need to ignore it with a 0. So there's actually going to be a couple of them, which is why we need to use also an OR function, which I know this seems kind of like crazy, right? But just bear with me. We're going to have an if function, and then we're going to have an OR function, because we're telling Excel we don't want you to just check for one thing, we want you to check for several things. In my case, it's two of them. So the first one being, we're going to have after the OR function, I want you to check Excel, look at the label, okay? And if the label is equal to, in parentheses, transfers. That's my first one that I have, because transfers are another version of this kind of card payment thinking, where if I transfer money, like let's say for example I put first ed money, I take a little bit of money and I put it onto my debit card for like just like some spending money or whatever. If I transfer that money, is that an expense in my first education account and an earning in my USA debit account? No, of course it's not. I still have the same amount of money. I'm just moving money around. So it's not an expense and it's not an earning. And so I want to disaccount for that in using this this part of the formula. So I'm going to use that one. We're going to put column, and then we're going to do it again because we're in the OR function, right? And that's why we did the OR function. So I'm going to say it again. Same label over here, relative free referencing. And we're going to say equals, and then that's where we're going to do the card payments. It doesn't matter what order you do them in. What is very, very important, though, is that however you type it here, that is exactly how you're going to be typing it in the label every single time you make a new transaction. If it's anything slightly different, like if you say, for example here, card payment, then it will not pick that up and it won't work, and it'll mess up your tables and your charts and everything later. So that's all the ones I have. And if you have anything else that you want to include there, that you just include that there in the rest of the OR function, and then you close it off with a parenthesis. And then I'd say, okay, so now if that is true, if in the label you find any one of these, if either transfers or card payments, then I don't want you to account for it here. I want you to say 0. But if it's anything else, what we have already is just fine, which is another if function, which is kind of crazy, right? It's like if after if after if, which is amazing. But that's the power of Excel. Click enter. Oh, looks like I missed a parenthesis somewhere. I'll just add one. Boom. There you go. So now you see down here in the earned, this right here, even though I have a net positive impact on my bottom line with the $100 off of my credit card, that's not an earned amount, that's just a credit card payment. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same exact thing with the spent, and the spent is gonna be a little bit, just a little bit more, but it's just one more thing. So let's just do this again. We're gonna start off with, all right, Excel. The first thing that I want you to check is if this net value plus minus is greater than 0, because for some reason we have to tell Excel which one to ignore first. I don't exactly understand why that is, but we're saying if this is a positive value, since we're in the spent column, then we want you to ignore it. But if it's anything else that is a negative value, because we're not going to have a 0 value, then we want you to go ahead and take that value, that net sum. There you go. But now you see we have a problem here, because when I go to the grocery store and I spend, hold on, no, that's not a good example. I mean, that is, sorry, hold on. All right, yeah, whoops, I made a mistake. I used the wrong columns. I did like discover and then earn, so that I just started in the wrong area here. So if you made the same mistake, you can come up here and you don't have to retype it all. You can just click like the appropriate cell and then click F2. Whoops, that's not the right. That's F. There you go. So yeah, click F2. Oh, I guess it's not working. Maybe double click, try it that way. Nope, doesn't work. Okay, never mind. Let's just go ahead and retype it. Go equals this one plus this one plus, or minus this one. And whoops, I forgot my if function. If that is greater than 0, then 0, right? Because we want to ignore it. However, if it's anything else, if it's positive, then we want to, or excuse me, if it's negative, then we want to have it in our column. Okay, that looks much better. Okay, but we still have an issue here because the way that we've made this, if you notice, if I go to the grocery store and I spend $33.73, did I spend, I mean, I guess I just gave you the answer. Did I spend negative $33.73, or did I spend like here on my, let's go to this one. Did I, when I went and I swiped my Discover card, did I spend negative $50? No, of course not. I spent $50. If I spent negative $50, that would be a positive impact on my bottom line. I would have earned money by going and getting gas, which would be fantastic. But unfortunately, I've never found a gas station that does that for me. So what we have to do, the first fix, is very simple. All you have to do is a function called absolute value. Yeah, absolute value. And basically what that does is it takes whatever value that you have, and it, instead of having all of the values be either positive or negative, it just takes the net distance from 0. So there you go. Instead of negative, it's positive, because it is in fact a positive value from 0. It's a positive distance from 0. And that's it. That's all you need for that, except now we need to add that caveat, because again, we don't want to be accounting for ones like this where we have the card payment and I spent, so to speak, $100 from my first education account in order to pay off my credit card, because I didn't spend that money again. I already spent it, or I already considered it an expense here and here and here. So we're going to do what we did earlier with the earned. Similarly, we're going to have another if function and then an or function within that. And we're going to say, if Excel, you find in this label column or in this label cell, either transfers or you find card payments, then ignore it. But if you find anything else, then we want, hold on, I need to put a parenthesis here. If you find one of those, then ignore it. But if you find anything else, then you can go ahead and do what you were going to do. And obviously, I forgot a parenthesis. There you go. So now we've fixed it here. And again, guys, I know this might seem a little bit redundant and unnecessary, but trust me, it's very, very necessary for later down the road. It's going to make your pivot tables and everything much easier. Okay, so you'll be happy to learn that most of the rest of this is pretty straightforward. The balance is a little bit challenging, but not very hard. Definitely not as much as these ones. So cash flow, very simple. Literally, it's just however much you earn minus however much you spent, and there you go. That's it. That's your cash flow. And again, I know that this value right here will never be anything different than just one of them, right? Because it's just you're only accounting for the earned or the spent, and so you're only going to have. Like, I understand it's redundant, but it's just very important to have that cash flow column, especially for right here, right? Because this one, you're going to be having the cash flow, which is this pivot table right here. And that's what you want this in here for, as its own separate distinguished column. And the other thing to note too is, even though you spent positive values, your cash flow being negative it'll be showing up here. Okay, so the next one is your balances, your new balances in your accounts. Now, usually the way you would do this, if it weren't for having an Excel table, what I would have is I would have like a 0. I would go 0, 1, 2, 3, and I would just keep going, right? And then the 0 column, that's where nothing had changed yet, and that's where my initial balances were of, like, let's say like I had $3,000 in my bank account and I had like $150 on my credit card. Or excuse me, on my debit card, and then my credit card, let's say I had like a balance of $300. And so all I would have to do in order to have the new balances show up like all the way down is I would say take the initial balance and add the impact of that transaction's change on this account. And there you go. You would just click it like that and then drag it down. You just keep doing it like that. But the problem with this here is I've tried it many different ways, and I can't, for some reason, have a zero value. I'm sure there has to be some way in Excel, like they would have thought of that, the zero, the initial balance where there's no changes in the accounts yet. But for whatever reason, I wasn't able to figure it out. And so what I had to do is I had to find a workaround. We're going to do basically the same thing, right? We're going to have Excel. I want you to look to the above column, and I want you to add the change in that account, but we can't just reference that cell itself, because it's an Excel table, it would be a fixed reference, and we want it to be relative, because in this cell I want to reference that one, in this cell I want to reference that one, and so on. We can't have it reference this top row every single time. In fact, we can't have it reference it any time, because that wouldn't work. So we want to do that, but we have to manually type it in. So we're going to say if Excel, if in N2, we got to type it in, because again, we want it to be relative. If that plus the change in that account, or excuse me, there's no if function here. There's no if function here. We just want you to account for that. That's what we want. But here you see that we have a value error, and the reason we have that is because that first balance, we don't have that zero row. I think I over-explained that a little. So what we have to do, this is where the if function comes in. But we don't do just a regular if function, we have an if error function. This is my workaround, because this, if we have the if error, the only one where it is going to have an error is this one right here, the top row. And if that is the case, since that is the one that's going to give us an error, then what we want, if you do have an error, Excel, we want you to have our initial account value. See how this kind of works? Kind of clever, huh? So we have, let's say that we have in my first education account, let's say I have $3,000 to start with. And there you go. That's all you need. And anywhere else, if it is, since it's not an if error anywhere else, it's just going to do what I had to do. I wanted to add the cell above with the change, and now you have the new balance, which is whatever that is. So 3,000 to plus the 1,200 earned, 4,200, and there you go. So same exact thing. If error O2 plus the change in that account, otherwise, or value of error, then the beginning balance on my debit card. So let's say it's like 150. If it's, whatever your beginning balance is, that's what you want to put in that first row with that formula. And the last one, if error P2 plus the change if you have an error, then the beginning balance of my card, but let's say it's 300. So there you go. And you see here, these look all pretty good. These look accurate. I noticed a big jump here on my credit card, and that is accurate because I spent like nearly $700 on a new couch. This is just dummy data. I didn't actually buy a new couch. There you go. So that's it. The last one that we have here is very straightforward. After putting in the dirty work of these three, and same thing here, the next one usually it comes pretty easy. We have the positive value of our bank account plus the debit card minus our credit accounts, and we sum that all up, and now we have our net cash. So that's it. Let's now move on to pivot tables and charts and visuals and formatting, the rest of it right now. All right, so if you've stuck with me this long, then you are obviously committed to the rest of the project, which I'm so grateful if you have stuck around. And I hope you're excited, because now we get to all the fun stuff. I know that video was very long and boring, and kind of like, just like, damn, man, when are we going to get to the good stuff? I totally understand. But again, like I explained at the end of that last video, it's just absolutely necessary that you get this down, because if you don't have the raw data correct, then none of the rest of the spreadsheet is going to work. So you've got this down. We've got our row headers. We've created a table. We've got our data in here. All the rules are set up correctly, and it's all nice and neat so that every single time we enter a new transaction in here, it's going to automatically update appropriately as exampled right here. So let's just give it a shot. Let's say March 7th, let's say we spent another $25, and it was on my Discover card. Oops. Discover card, and we spent it on oh, I don't know, Amazon, and we spent it on a new book. And so we're just gonna put like education. And is that one of the categories? No. We put professional. Professional. Real estate book. Okay, so there you go. See, I entered the data over here, didn't have to worry about it on this side, and yet it accounted for it right here. See how my net cash is somewhat lower. The Discover balance was upped, and that's what it counts for here, but my other balances were not accounted, they didn't change. The cash flow, of course, was negative $25. I spent $25, and I have the change in my Discover card balance. Everything is automatic, and now that you put in the heavy work in the beginning, boom, there you go. It is nice and clean. So now to the fun stuff, okay? So we got the data, and we've got all the rules set up for it to be easy, easy because it's automatic. So I don't even know if easy is the word. It's more like effortless, period. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up the pivot tables that will then enable us to create dynamic charts and things that we need in order to create that beautiful dashboard. But before we get there, let me whet your appetite a little bit. Let's go ahead and start making our dashboard, because that's the one we're actually excited about, right? So go ahead and create a new sheet and title it dashboard, or whatever you want to do. You can title it home, or whatever you want. And let's start making this a little bit attractive, if you will. So the first thing I'm going to do is create the background black. I'm going to make the whole background black. And I think the way to do that, one second. Okay, yeah, I thought there was something more in depth, but all you want to do is you just click in any one of the cells, do Control A to select all of them, and then all you got to do is come up here to the colors and then do black. Boom, there you go, pretty easy. So there you go, and now you can add a title if you wish. What I did was I just came up here to Insert, and I did text box, and I'm going to do just like that, and we're going to go money in motion 2.0. Okay, so but obviously we're not going to leave it like this, right? Because this is gross looking. So what we want to do is we're going to click on the side so that we don't have our cursor in there, but it is selected, and we're going to first change the background. We're going to have the background be transparent, if I can figure that out. No fill. There you go. Boom! Look at that. Beautiful. So you can't even read the text now, but you can click in here again. The text is still there. It's just black, so you can't see it. So now we're going to click in here. We're going to do Control All again, because now we can select the text itself, and you can make it whatever color you want. I'm personally going to go with some kind of like gold. I like gold. So let's do that, and we're going to make it bigger, a lot bigger. Let's do like 40. And then we're going to change the font, because the font is also not fancy enough for my taste. So let's come here and do, oh, I don't know. Let's make it more like sophisticated. I kind of like that. Yeah, I might change this later on, but for now that's good. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And there you go. So that's how I'm going to do it. You can make it however you want. And by the way, you don't have to have a, oh, I need to change this so it doesn't have a background. Or not a background, a border. Erase border. Did that work? Let's see. Hold on. Okay, wow, that was like way harder than I expected it would be. So all you got to do is you got to come up here and you got to right click it and go to the outline, and then just click no outline. I was like trying to erase the border and stuff, and that was just not what it was. But now that I look at this again, I also want to change the font again, so just bear with me. You can do this too, obviously. I'm sorry, I hate to waste your time. I'm just trying to make this fancy. I don't like these. Oh, that looks okay. I don't know. I don't like the color so much anymore. Motion. maybe that one. Let's bold it. And then there's something else that you can do as well. I want you to be able to do everything that I did on my last one. So I'm going to come up here, maybe select all the text, and hold on. Okay, so all I wanted to do is just make it so that you have that like depth to it. So you can come up here and you go to Format Text Effects, and you can come and play with these things. I like to have some kind of like 3D. Let's try that. Look at that. Ooh, I love it. Love it. Let's try. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it there. Keep it there, but make it maybe bold or something. I'm still not, like, the color is not quite right. Is it this one? It's too dark. Maybe I just did it custom. There you go. That looks okay. All right, so there you go. You can play with that to your liking, whatever you want to make it. And you can obviously title it differently if you want. And then that's pretty much all we can do at this point. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste. But now, you know, we want to make actually the legitimate like things to go in here, so that it's not just a fancy title with no content. It's a legitimate functioning dashboard. So, all right, so now we got to go back here and we got to, the data's done, right? But now we want to create our first pivot tables. So I'm going to title this PT1 for pivot table 1, and I'm going to go spending. Oh wait, hold on. I don't think we need this one. No, we do. Okay, so spending by category. I'm going to say spending by category. Oops. PT1 spending by category. And this is the one that we're going to be using for our pie charts. So that's the first one. The other one is going to be, we're going to do PT2, and we're going to go cash flow. Boom! And we want, so if you remember from the last video, not the last one, I guess, the first one that introduced the whole thing. So this is what we're creating, right? And the pivot tables that I just made, well, I guess not the pivot tables yet, but this is what we're going to be making. This pivot table and this pivot table, they are for, respectively, this part of the dashboard and this one. And then this one, we already have the data that we need already, and that's in the data tab right there. So get that out of the way. Let's put it over here, actually. My gosh, this is slow. Okay, so we're going to come over here and we're going to create, actually, let's go to the data tab. And what you want to do is to click, just like you did when you created the table, you're going to click anywhere in your data. And then you're going to go up here and you're going to click insert and you're going to go to pivot table. And we're going to say select a table or range, table 1, that is correct. And then we're going to say new, actually we're going to go to existing worksheet, and it's going to ask where's the location. You're going to click in here and then it'll automatically follow you, and you come over here and you can say right here, boom. And then you can just click one of them and it'll automatically, boom, there you go. You got the pivot table. It's going to reference this data in order to create the pivot table that you wish. And so now you come over here to the pivot table, and now watch how easy this is, okay? This pivot table is one of the most fascinating, like one of the most powerful functions of Excel. And if you know how to do them, you're gonna be a star at your job or at your, whatever. It's a very handy, skill. So let's see what, I need to know which things we're doing. 1 second here. Okay. So what we want here, we're going to do spending by category, right? And in order to do that, what we want to be able to see is we're going to have each of the categories, and then we're going to have the bar chart highlighting how much we spent in each of those, and then we want the pie chart. And so what we want is, the first thing we want is to have the category. So we're going to pull that down here and we're going to make it a row. So there you go. Those are our categories. Obviously, you might have more. I just, this is just from the dummy data because I haven't used very many categories yet. But so that's the one we're going to use, and this will update automatically as you insert new data. And again, we're going to show you how to do that, or I'm going to show you how to do that with the macro or whatever, but you don't have to use VBA. And that will automatically update it over here. So we're going to have category, and now we also want the amount that we spent. And remember when I told you earlier, we don't want to skip over the earned and the spent columns. That's because of this. So now we have spent, and that is it pretty much. The only one more thing that we need is, if you remember also from the last one, we don't just want to be able to see any one month, right? We want to be able to break it down by month. And so in order to do that, if you notice, see here how I'm on May, and if I go back to pivot table 1, look at that, boom, May is there. If I come back here and I click on March and I go back to the pivot table, now it's March. See, isn't that crazy? Freaking awesome. So in order to have that functionality with the splicers, which again I'll show you later, we need to be able to incorporate those as well. And so in order to do that, we have to also have months in here, or in this case it would just be date, but then we can just break that down. See how it automatically includes months there? So you have months, and then you can just come here and you can go delete or remove field, and there you go. So that is everything. That is what we need. And in order to have the splicer functionality, we just need to insert them and then attach it to the pivot table, and it'll be good to go. So that's it. That's pretty much it. That's exactly what you need to do, and that's all you need to do. The only last thing I might consider doing is, in order to have it be appropriate, we don't want to see just numbers in here. We don't want that. We want it to be currency. And so we're going to come in here. Let's go to number format and currency. We're going to have 2 decimal points, and boom, boom. Dude, did you see that? Okay, so there you go. That's the first pivot table. Now we're going to do the exact same thing over here on the cash flow side, except of course in this side we're going to do it slightly differently. And I do, if you're thinking about putting your pivot table down here or like off to the right, I encourage, for this one, if you're going to, if you want to, you're like, Xander, why did you put in a new sheet? Why not just put it to the right or not put it to the bottom? Well, the problem with that is that as you add more expenses or more categories, this pivot table will grow. And as you transition, it's not necessarily going to have all of the months, because you're going to be using the splicers. But it sometimes could have the months when, for example, you have, if you take it from the dashboard and instead of looking at the months, if you remember, if I want to get rid of months and I'm only looking at like car maintenance over time, or let's say like gasoline, where is that? Gasoline. If I'm looking at that, well now I have all of the months. See, and so that will it's just much easier instead of trying to predict. I mean, if you still want to do it, it's up to you, but it's just much easier because pivot tables are dynamic and they keep changing size, and it's just and like size on each side. It's just easier to create a new spreadsheet or a new sheet for each one. And it's not like you have to leave the spreadsheet. It's just sheets are cheap. That's the bottom line. Sheets are cheap, and so I just recommend that you do a new one. So there you go. So now we have cash flow. We're going to come over here to our data again, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put our cursor in one of them. We're going to go to insert and pivot table, and same thing, table 1, existing worksheet. Where is this existing worksheet located? Pivot table 2. Dun, 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 dun. And the categories we want in this one is even simpler than the last one. We're going to bring date down, because that's what we want over here, right? We're going to have the cash flow be the net cash flow of each month. We're going to have January, February, March, and so on. So we're going to have the months. Go ahead and take out date, because we don't need the specific day. That's a little overboard. So if you want to do that, obviously you're welcome to. But so we're going to have that, and then we're going to have cash flow. Boom! And last thing, again, just right click, go over here to value field settings, number format, currency, and done like a sun, and we are done. Okay, so that is it. That's the pivot tables, and now we have what we need in order to make this dashboard. So here we go. Okay, so this is the most exciting part. Let me 1 sec. I'm gonna make sure I can walk through all this. I gotta again reteach myself as well. All right, I hope you're thrilled. Let's do this. The first one is pretty easy actually, and that's our favorite one, right? The one we want to start with is net cash. Pretty simple. All you got to do is come up here to insert and go to chart. Actually, you know what? Let's do this a little bit differently. Let's go to data first. And what we're going to be doing is every time we make a new transaction, right? We want the chart to have that little blip of change, and that's what I have. Show you again. So I have, every time I make a transaction, it changes this chart a little bit. So it's a daily thing, but then you can adjust the axis so that you don't have to see every single one. You can just see like month, and you can see like the total over time. So I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and do that. Get this out of the way. Okay, so what we do is we come over here to the chart. Now, because we made a table, an actual Excel table, we don't have the fear of doing what I'm about to do, because I'm going to highlight this whole column, right? And then I'm going to highlight over here the net cash column, and those are the only two ones we need. And then we're going to go to insert, and then we're going to go to recommended chart, and the line chart is what we want. Excuse me. That's exactly what we want. So go ahead and take that, while it's selected, go Control X for cut, and then Control V for paste, and we'll format all of these later. Don't worry about that yet, unless you want to. You want to pause the video and format it right away. That's cool. So I'm going to just call this net cash. So there you go. So again, we'll change all of this later. We'll make it look nice and neat. But that's it. That's literally all you have to do, because you did it so beautifully. And so now check this out. We have the 3/7 date, right? If I didn't make this a table, then a new entry would not affect this chart, and I'd be SOL. But because we made a table, watch this. We're gonna go 3/15, and let's say I spent a ridiculous amount of money. Let's say I bought like a new, I bought like a new couch or something, and I put $679.48 on my credit card, and I was like, okay, and I went to Clear Brothers, and it was expense categories. We've got probably personal, right? I'd say that's probably personal. So we're gonna say personal, and we're gonna say new couch. All right, so check this out. So we have our cash. I was at like $4,000, and I just spent $700 on my new couch. Now, if we didn't make the table, our chart over there would not update. But check this out. Bam! Look at that. Already updated. I didn't even have to click anything. Oh, that just pumps me up so much. And what's even crazier is that I'm not even going to leave you with having to come back to the data tab to input this data. I'm going to make you an actual entry form here in the front, which took me hours and hours and hours of searching to figure out how to do. And I'm just going to give it to you for free. So I hope you're thrilled. Oh my gosh. All right, let's do this. So the next one is the categories for the expenses, right? So let's do that one. We're going to come over here. This is the pivot chart we want for that. So we're going to come and we're going to say, we're going to click in here just like we always do. We're going to go insert, and we're going to go to pivot chart, which is over here. We're going to say pivot chart. We're going to say clustered column. That's what we want. We're going to take that again. While it's selected, Control X, come over to the dashboard, Control V for paste, and we're going to X out of that for now. We're going to put this right here, and there you go. This is all in the default, beginning stages. Not to worry. We'll make it look nice and beautiful here in just a bit. The next thing is we want that same one. We want the same pivot table, except this time we want a pie chart, because we also would like to see it broken down as a whole. How much did we spend on various columns, or not various columns, various categories as a total of how much money we spent overall. So we're going to do the same thing, except this time we're going to make a pie chart, and then we're going to move it, Control X, over here, Control V, bam, there you go. Okay, this one is probably one of my favorites. I mean, this is awesome too, but this is like your actual picture, but this one right here gives you an idea of how much you're putting away or costing yourself month to month to month, and that way you can have some incentive to cut your expenses and boost your earnings. So we're going to go here. This one is the first one where we're done with the spending by category, and now what we want is to go to the cash flow one, and we're going to come up here and do the same thing. Come up, pivot chart, clustered column is what we want, just like that other one. This one, however, is a little bit different because we have the positive values and we have the negative values, right? So we have, on this one, it's just how much we spent in each category, and there's never going to be a negative amount spent, right? That doesn't make sense. That's an earnings, and I don't account for that here. I don't concern myself with that. And so, but here we have positive values and we have negative values. We could be earning money in a month or we could be losing money. And so in order to account for that, we can't just use a regular, what is it called? We can't just use a regular clustered column. We have to use a stacked clustered column, or a stacked column, I guess is what it's called. Yeah, that's right. Because this one will only, okay, yeah. I think actually a cluster column would probably work, but let's just do a stacked column because I think you can like adjust the colors and stuff on that. Let me just make sure here that you need to do that. Yeah, stacked. So that might not be exactly the reason that I did that, but it is a stacked column, and I trust myself that it is, there is a reason for it. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. So there you go. There's the stacked column for our cash flow. It looks like we made like nearly $1,200 in January, and then we lost some money here. But again, this is going to be a lot prettier once we format it. This is all just getting everything ready. So now we have the splicers. Let me see, 1 second. All right, check this out. So this is this is another thing I thought was going to be harder than it is. But so what you want to do is just select one of these, because this is the only one we're doing splicers for, right? If you click January or February or whatever, you don't want this to change because that's not really that helpful. You don't want to look at 1 month of cash flow at a time. You don't need that. So you're going to click up here. And by the way, also the other thing too is that these are both connected to the same pivot table, because that's how we did it. And this one is a different one, and so this one would actually require its own set of slicers anyway, which by the way, I thought it was splicers. Turns out it's slicer. So anyway, click one of them, and then come up here to insert, and we go to slicer. And then you're going to select the ones you want. If you remember from the original video, I had month, and then I had category max, and then category min, and that turned out to be like overly complicated. So in this one, we didn't do that. We have in the raw data, we just have the one category. So we're just going to go to months, and then we're going to go category, and then okay. Bam! Look at that. Look at how easy that was. I can't believe how easy that was. Like, I've made this before, and I thought it was going to be so much more in depth. But so anyway, that's it. That's all you got to do, and it's already connected. So now you have February. Bam! You have January. Bam! That is it. That's all you need. And then you have it adjusted over here. So if you wanted to see, gasoline. Oh, wait. That doesn't look right. You know what? That's probably because of the formatting. So we have the slicers, and it's all ready. We just now need to do the formatting. So we're going to do the new entry thing. Don't think I've forgotten. That's probably the one I'm most excited about, because that does take a little bit of thinking. But we'll get there later. Right now, let's make it pretty, because right now you have all of this, and it's just driving you nuts. I know it's driving me nuts. So let's start with net cash. Let's go and make it transparent first, because I don't want to see that ugly white background. Let's say fill, and we're going to go no fill. Bam. Okay, so now, and then we're going to come to this one, and we're going to go to the design. Let's make it dark, I think. Oh, excuse me. Actually, you know what? I don't even think we need to do that, because all we need to do is have the line color change. Let's see if we can come up here. No. Okay, let's just change the color. Can we do like green or something? I'm sure that you can adjust this even more. There's a thing, how do I change these colors? There we go, page layout. And colors. Oh, okay. Well, that's not that helpful. Let's make it green. Oh no, I don't want that. I just want to make this like neon. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go with over here. We're gonna come over here and change this, and then we'll make it green. And okay, so that's good. I gotta make the background blank again. So now you can see these little lines in the back a little bit. I'm gonna make those a little bit more visible. You can go to format grid lines. It'll just take a second. Go to solid line, and we're gonna make it like an off-white, like that. And I want it to be somewhat transparent because I don't want it to be all in the way. So I'm gonna go like, oh, I don't know, 80%, a little bit less, 75, 70, yeah, 70, that looks good. And then we can adjust this. That's where I wanted to get to. Okay, so solid line, and then I want it to be like a neon, you know, I want it to be real bright and glorious. Okay, look at that. Excellent, excellent. And then you can play with it too, like you can add shadow, and you know, let's come over here and let's play a little bit. Let's go to smoothed. What is that? No, don't like that. So I'm gonna leave you to your own devices, and then I'm gonna, you know what, you can skip ahead if you want to. I'm just gonna keep playing for a little bit. Let's come over here to shadow. Let's try this one. I don't see a difference. Oh, here's why. I want it to be white. Okay, and then let's make it a little bit larger. Oh, that's transparency. Yeah, that's good. I don't want it to be transparent. Or I guess I do, just not much. Whoa. Don't want that. Blur. Yeah. Yes. Distance. Yeah, so I think that looks pretty good. And again, you know, you can play with this however much you want. You can make it look as nice or as not nice as you care to. And of course, you know, this is dummy data. This is not going to look, it's just like not as cool as it will as you actually input data. And the other thing is that it's real data. It's not just going to be dummy data. It's going to be your picture of your cash. It's going to be your financial picture, and you're going to see it as it changes over time. And you're going to be looking, and you can see how you can reach your goals and whatnot. So now the next thing I would like to do is let's get rid of these ugly zeros over here on the left side, because I don't care about the last two digits, the last, you know, the cents. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to go decimal places, 0, enter, done. And then we're going to go to the bottom, and we want that axis to be somewhat different because we don't want to see every single date, and we also don't want it to be haphazard, right? We don't want it January 2nd, January 9th, January 16th. No, I want it to be simple. I want it to be every month. So let's make this the first of the month, or the first of the year, and then the maximum, we'll have it be auto. But the major units, I just want to be 1 month. And there you go. Boom. Now, right now, I only have dummy data up to like March whatever. And so that's why this doesn't probably look quite as good. Maybe you want to do 0.5 months. I guess you're not allowed to. So in this case, maybe we do like 15 days. There you go. That's, that's a lot easier. But, however much you want to do it, I personally, because I know that this is going to get larger, I'm just going to go with 1 month, and then that will adjust itself over time and look better as we add more data. So there you go. That looks a lot better already. You can adjust this title. You can make it bigger if you want to, but I'm just going to move on now. Let's go ahead and start with this one. So the first thing that I notice here is that this ugly, I don't like this. I don't like this color coding. I don't want to have that at all. I just want to have the splicer kind of take care of that for me. And so instead of having it here on the side, I'm going to come in here. Let's go to hide all things. I'm not sure if it's show field list. No, that's not it. I don't know. Let's just come in here. You can just come over to this thing and go delete. And then you come to this thing. Here we go. Hide all field buttons on chart. That's what I was trying to do. Or just remove the field. Yeah, so I'll just, oh, whoops. Nope, that didn't, I don't want that. Whoa! What just happened? Okay, never mind. So don't remove it. Go to hide value field buttons on the chart. No, I guess that's not what I wanted either. Hide all field buttons. There we go. Okay, that's what I want. And then you can go, you're going to do the same thing. I'm going to make it blank in the back. Whoops. Oh, did that? Must not. There we go. Okay. And then let's change the color scheme a little bit. So these are, actually, first thing I want to do is edit these so that I can actually see them. So we're going to format the axis. And we're going to go to the text color. Oh, text fill. Yeah. And then we're going to get rid of the decimals. Number 0. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't even want an axis on this because this is, these are specific values that I want to see, and I don't want an approximate, like I don't want to see approximately where it is like I do on this chart. I actually want it to be on the top of the bar. And so I'm gonna come over here and screw all this. I'm gonna come to this and I'm gonna go delete, and then I'm gonna go to the I'm gonna highlight the actual like values. Why is it not highlighting all of them? Oh, because the month thing. Well, I don't know. 1 second, guys. Let's come here to the outline and get rid of that, and then change this background thing, the grid lines. Oops. The grid lines, make those a little bit more transparent. Okay. Oh, you know what? Again, I don't need the grid lines because we're doing the totals up here at the top. So I'm wondering like why it's not allowing me to click all of them. I know it's the month, like it's month by month, but let's just see if I can come to here and do plot area and come to the labels. If there's a label area. One second. Okay, sorry. All you got to do is come up here and go to the plus sign and then go to data labels and literally click it, and that's it. I was making it way harder than it needed to be. Although for some reason it's not letting me click on just the inside, but anyway, you can come over here and edit them. I don't want just 1 month. I want it all at the same time. This is so frustrating. I don't want it to fill. I just want the text fill. There, but again, with the one, that is so weird. Okay, man, that was frustrating. I'm sorry. I mean, I feel like I'm still kind of running into issues, but I think all you got to do is to just go to the format chart area, and it should apply to everything. You come over here to text options, solid fill, and then you can edit it here. The important thing though is that it is the chart area versus just one of them. Like maybe the plot area would work too. No, it must be the chart area. So yeah, I don't know. It should be edited for all of them. If it's not, I apologize. I don't know how I fixed that in the last one. But for whatever reason, I'm running into tremendous trouble here. So, but anyway, if you notice too, the other thing is I changed the color scheme. And the way that you do that so that they vary is you select, again, the chart area or the plot area, and then come over here to, actually it's the data series, that's what you want. And then come to fill, and it's vary colors by point. And then you can check that, and every new category is a different color, and that will fix it across them. It should. If it doesn't, again, I'm sorry. I don't know what is going on here. But anyway, probably simpler than I'm making it. But that is most of it. Let's see if I can get rid of this bottom thing. I'm just gonna get rid of the bottom border. That didn't work. Maybe it's the axis. There. So yeah, just go to no line, and then there you go. That's what I prefer. Again, you can play with this, and however you want to make it, it's totally up to you. But I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. And then the last thing before we move on to the pie chart, you remember from the last time, or from the first video, the original video, I have this total up here, which I don't want to forget about. I want to show you that too. The way that you do that is you insert a new text box, and you can just move it right there. And we're gonna go, we can't put equals in here because that won't count it as a formula. The way that you do it is you click on the edges so that it's all selected, but it doesn't have the text in there. And then you can click equals, and it'll be, oh, it didn't work. Okay, so it'd be up here in the formula bar is where you want to do it. So you go equals, and what we want is the sum. So we're gonna go to the pivot table, I believe. Yes. Okay, so let's go to the pivot table first. Before we start typing in that formula, let's go up here, and I'm gonna move this whole pivot table a little bit down just so it's not in the way. And I'm gonna put up here in the top left corner, I'm gonna go equals. Okay, so this is a little bit challenging. So what you want to do, because pivot tables are dynamic, you have to kind of play with them a little bit. So you're going to use this special formula called get pivot data, because that will allow you to kind of get the same kind of consistent data. And you're going to select this pivot table. I think you'll just select the whole thing. Let me make sure here. Okay, so what I have in this other spreadsheet is get pivot data, and then I have in parentheses, or in, yeah, no, not in parentheses, in quotation marks, I have spent and then I have C3, which is this one, and I have it fixed. I just pressed F4. F4 will fix it. The dollar signs before each one just means that that won't move. That cell reference is C3 regardless, and that will stay that way. So go enter, and that should be the total amount that you've spent for the category, or the month, excuse me, that you have selected. So we have it February right now, right? If we go back to the dashboard and we go to January, that should update, and this will update as well, and that's the total. So let's go to currency. Okay, so now we have our sort of like a raw data. That's my workaround that I created. And now we want it to be in this text box. So we're going to select the text box, and then we're going to go to this formula bar, and we're going to go equals, and we're literally just going to go to the one we just created and go this one. That's what we want. And we'll go ahead and lock it, even though it's not going to be moving. You don't have to lock it. It won't matter. So, but there you go. Now you have it, and it'll update automatically. So let's go February, boom. March, boom. So pretty cool. Now, of course, this is not how we want to leave it, right? Because that's gross looking. So we're gonna right click, and we're gonna go to out or fill, and we're gonna say no fill, and we're gonna change the format of the actual text. I want it to be white and bigger. Let's go like, oh, I don't know, 24. And it might have more, so I'm going to leave some room. And then, of course, we want to get rid of that border too, that nasty border. I don't know why they do that by default. And there you go. That's all you got to do. And I guess I'll center it. Why not, right? Pretty cool. Ha! Sweet. Okay, so now to the pie chart. Same thing here. You want to hide all the field buttons. Get rid of this nasty legend that you don't need, because you'll be able to match the colors. I feel like that's how I like to do it. You don't need the legend. You just need each one is explained here in the chart here. And then over here, you just have the amounts. And so that's what we want. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to select data labels. So that way I can see the actual amounts, except I don't want amounts, I want percentages. And so instead of data labels as percentages, I'm going to go to more options, and we're going to go percentage, and then we're going to uncheck value, because I don't want to see the value, I just want to see the percent of the whole. So I'm going to select that again, and I'm going to change the color. Actually, before I do that, let's go to, again, getting rid of this nasty background. Outline, none, fill, none. And so then we're going to need to change the title and everything. I want it to be white. I don't want it to be black. I want to be able to see it. So white, and then we'll go here and change these to white as well. And then you can change where it shows up. So you can put it like in the center if you want, or in the inside end. The outside end would be like on the edges, or just best fit, which is what I always do. And there you go. So then, and then you can change this pie chart a little bit. Like, I don't like how it looks like there's white in between. I don't like that. So, nope, not data series. I want to change the like plot area. Let's, I guess, just go out here. Format chart area. No, let's go over here. Let's go to the design and see if we can find something a little bit better. So that one looks good. We just have to delete this again. I'm doing these things like in imprecise order, but I hope you'll forgive me. I just wanted to get this video out. I'm kind of a perfectionist. I want to get out of that. So again, just got to change the color. There you go. And let's just, you know what? Let's just get rid of this title up here. We don't need it because you have it highlighted here, so you already know what month you're in. So, but it's not carrying over, of course. Let's X out of all of the slicer stuff, and let's just try to edit the default and see if that works. Oops. What am I doing here? Oh. Come on. There we go. Looks good. So yeah, that is that looks like what we want. Although it's not showing the percentages still. Damn it! I don't know what the issue is here. I'm wondering if it's because we created the slicers first, but let's just move on. I don't want to waste any more of your time. I'm sorry, guys. This formatting stuff is the less intensive part, or it should be. I'm just not as not as educated, I guess, or not as capable. I don't. My memory is not as good. That's I guess the way to put it. So, but let's do this one down here. This is our cash flow. I definitely want to show you guys how to do this one because this is very important. So we have it as stacked column, right? And we have it like kind of set up correctly, but I want it to have the red and the green for showing positive and negative values. And so we're going to go over here to format chart area. Actually, let's get rid of the background first. Can't stand that, man. So got rid of the background, and we can play with let's just get rid of these grid lines. I think I got rid of them over here too, yeah. And then we can go to the border or the axis, and we can change the axis so that we have the line. We get rid of the line. I think it's here. No line. And then the text options white, obviously. And then same over here. Okay. And then delete that. And now what we want is we want to have an axis, but we want that axis to be in the middle, and we want it to be 0, because then we want to see on either side of that axis the cash flow, whether it's positive or it's negative. And I'm also going to color code it because I want it to be red if it's negative and green if it's not. And that was challenging, and actually that's not even all my fault, because Excel apparently has this glitch where if it's a negative value and you try to do like just a solid color, it won't save it when you leave, which is ridiculous. But so anyway, let's go in here and try to play with this. So what I want is to first create that axis, and I guess, well, let's vary colors by point first. Oh, invert if negative, that's what I want. Invert if negative. And let's have green if it's positive, and then red if it's negative. But the problem here is, like I just said, the solid fill, if I did solid fill, it won't save it when I leave, and that's just like, ugh, why? But anyway, what I did is I just did not gradient, I think I did like pattern, yeah, pattern fill, and then you can just click like a simple pattern so you barely even notice it, and then you can pick the colors here, so green and red, and there you go. So that'll save. You can try it. Oh, whoops, looks like I did it backwards. Red, green. So you can try it with the solid fill and see if it works for you, but I think it'll probably give you the issues. So, but anyway, this will work and this will save, and you won't have to worry about it. It's kind of like odd looking, but it's barely noticeable. So, and you know, you can make it more playful if you wish. Totally up to you. All right, so now let's, I want to change, let's change this axis. I think that's where we want to be, because I want to be able to, yes, okay. So the horizontal axis is 0. the number. I'll go ahead and get rid of this. Let's put that line back. One second, guys. Okay, so what you want to do is you're going to click over here to the axis, the left axis, and actually I'm not sure if I added the line back while I was in that little break. If I didn't do that yet, you just come over to the horizontal axis first, click on that, and then go to this one, or no, this one, and then go to line and click solid line, and then it'll be white line. That way you can see where the middle is. That's where 0 is, and then anything on the bottom and anything on the top, that's positive and negative cash flow, and you can see that over time. And then what you want to do is you can come over here to the left axis and go to this one, or no, this one, I'm sorry. Is it? Crap, man, where is it? Axis. Axis options. Yeah, okay, so axis options under this one. And I just manually inputted -1,000. You can do like negative, I don't know, 500, and then have this one be automatic. I think I'm gonna actually keep, yeah, let's just keep it at 500. That looks good. And then it'll automatically adjust the size of here. And yeah, I like the, I don't like the January, February, March being right here, because this sometimes could go further. This could go further, and it'll mess that up. So I actually want these down here. So what I'm going to do is come over here, click on the horizontal axis, and go to the text options. I want the text to show up at the very bottom of the chart. That's not working, of course. Ugh. Okay, man, I am like so flustered right now. So to take the data, the month labels from here in the cash flow chart, take them and put them on the bottom. You got to come here and format the axis, and then come over here and go to labels, and then these can stay the same, but click in here low, and that's how you can put it at the bottom, and then you don't have to worry about that. That'll automatically adjust over time. The last thing I want to do on this one is I want to have the actual number of the cash flow that I had. Let's add one more data point just for fun. Let's put in here like 318, and let's spend another ridiculous amount of money so I can have negative cash flow for the month of March. But actually, you know what? My cash flow should be less, should be more, because I had 679.48 for March 15th. This should be a lot more. That is not correct. March. Let's see. Hold on, guys. I am sorry. I am just totally batching this, or butchering this. Actually, you know what? I think all I had to do was, yeah, okay, my bad. I just had to refresh the sheet. So up here, this is refresh all. This is, I think this is in like, I don't even know where it is. Maybe review. Is it home? I don't remember where refresh all is, but I have it in my quick access toolbar. You can probably just like find it here. Here, let's see. Refresh. Yeah, refresh all. So that's in. I don't see it. I don't know. You can probably just go to refresh, and then you can just do. You can just do refresh all, and you just go to add a quick access toolbar if you don't have it already. So add that, and then click it, and it'll update, and there you go. Now it's fixed. I was wondering why. I was like, man, March, I already spent money. So there you go. So there's the fix. That'll be solved with the whole entry thing. Because what happened was, like I was telling you, we tried to add, we added this data label right here with the couch. And of course it updated for our net cash, because that's just a chart that feeds right from the table, and because it's an actual Excel table, it works. But it doesn't quite work for the pivot charts because they're based on pivot tables, and pivot tables don't automatically update with new entries to the raw data. You have to actually update them yourself. You can come in here and you can right click and go update somewhere. Refresh, obviously, duh, refresh. But you can also just do the refresh all because that just handles all of them at once. So yeah, that's all I needed to do, and now this is updated. And I can go ahead and change this bottom one again back to -1,000. There you go. So now that looks a lot better. Yeah, so that is that. And now what I want is to have the actual numbers, because this is just an approximation, but I also want the actual data labels here listed on the thing. So if you remember from that original video, this is what it looks like. I have the actual labels inside the cash flow bars. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's figure that out. Let's go add data labels. There you go. Oh, boom. That was easy. And then go white. Whoops. That's no. Oh, and it's actually not even editing what I wanted to. Data labels. White. Nope, that's not right either. It's this one. There you go. Okay, so there you go. That was pretty easy. Yeah, that is that. So we've got the slicers. You can move these as you want. You can adjust their design. I'll just go ahead and control click over here so I can select them both. You can go to I think it's like, I want to say design or something over here. Page layout maybe. Anyway, you can change this somehow. You can change their design. Maybe it's just by clicking one at a time. Nah. Anyway, whatever. You can change those to the purple that I had in the last one. But right now, we're going to move on to the most challenging part of the spreadsheet that I know you're also itching to get to, so that you can have the automatic, data entry. So let me just go ahead and copy and paste this over. So that's the way that I have it. It's called new entry. This is a merged couple of cells, I believe, and then you have the 3 beneath. So it's 3 or maybe 6 actually merged cells, and then each of these is 3. I just highlighted all throughout here and then changed the color a little bit and then added a border, and then you have these entry areas, and then you have the amounts that you need. Except mine, actually, we changed this to category, and we only have category now. So let's go ahead and adjust that. I'm going to undo, and let's just make this from scratch. So I'm going to merge and center like here, all 6 of these. And then I'm going to select down. We're going to have, the first one is blank, and then we have date, amount, account, merchant, category, label, and then we want to leave several spaces for the actual button. So let's leave like 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so that is the area for our entry. Let's change the color slightly to like an off black. That's a little bit dark still. Let's change it a little bit more. Okay. And then we're going to put up here in the center, I'm going to make the color white. I'm going to say new entry. Make that center and big. Okay, bold it, and then down here we're going to have these be date, and then amount, and then account, merchant, category label. And then let's make this a little bit bigger. We'll go down here again for the button. Okay, now let's create these things. So I'll go ahead and let's make the borders for this. I'm just gonna have it be an outside border. We're gonna go outside border, and we're gonna make that white. I think it might have already, nope. So we're gonna make it white. We can do line color white. And then you just have to do this, which is weird, but, oh. Yeah, but that's it. What the fuck? Sorry. Did it work? What is going on, man? I don't know if I'm like design challenged or what, but this it should be freaking coloring white, shouldn't it? Hold on. All right, I just had to come up here, just like highlight it all, and then come up here to border, go to more borders, and you can select which one you want. I go to outline, so like all of the outside, you know, and then you go to color and white and select. Okay, that should be good. Are you kidding me? I don't understand, man. I am at a loss. Okay, well, apparently that's impossible. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's do this. I'm going to make this a slightly less dark again. Let's go like this one, and then we'll give these ones borders. Hopefully it'll work. All borders, but I want it to be white. Oh my god. Is that the problem? No way! Oh my goodness, man. Okay, well there you go. The freaking line was turned off apparently, because that just makes sense. Oh my lord. Okay, there you go. We've got the new entry box. Now, it looks cool, but unfortunately, it's unfunctional. It does not do anything. And that is because we don't have the button yet. So what we want to do, this is like, we're wrapping everything up, right? We've got pretty much everything we wanted. The only thing now, because you have it, right? You have everything you want. And from here, you know, forgive me guys for taking so long. I know that I've been dragging out a lot more than I should. And I apologize for that. If I wasn't so perfectionist, I wouldn't make that mistake. But I'd rather drag out and be ridiculously over explaining than worry so much about my perfectionism and not actually produce for you guys. So we're wrapping up here. Anything that I've missed or anything you want to change, you know, you're definitely, I hope that you're capable of doing. You know, whatever you want to figure out, you can probably just quick YouTube and figure out any of the details on your own. Or if you want to, you know, contact me, I would be more than happy to help you through the specifics. But I don't want to make this video any more longer than I already have. So the last thing that you need here, all of these other things are like more of the design principles. I've walked you through the formulas that you need. The table itself will update every time you enter a new entry. The pivot table is taken care of. The pivot table here, your expense categories are, you know, I instructed you to go ahead and make those for yourself, and those would be the ones that are showing up over here. The slicers, I've walked you through the slicers. And now the last thing is the actual being able to come back to this spreadsheet and just enter right here from the dashboard without ever having to actually leave it. I'm going to come up here to view and get rid of the formula bar just so I can have a little more room. in order to do that, we want this new entry form. We want to be able to click send and just be done. And the way that we do that is through VBA, but instead of actually going to VBA, which is like somewhere in here, I think you have to like go into the VBA thing, and it's very wonky. Like it's extremely, it's like a whole nother language. It's like learning how to code, but we don't have to do that. Instead of doing that, we're going to play with a macro, like an automated macro thing. And basically the shortcut is, instead of actually writing the code to do something that has a pattern and that you can do again and again, instead of having that and writing that like as a function, or as like a formula, I guess, whatever, we come in here and we can actually just go to insert macro, I believe is where it is. I'll pause. I'll skip here in just a second. Okay, I remember now. So in order to even play with macros, we have to save this workbook as a specific kind of workbook. And so in order to do that, we've gotten everything taken care of, right? You've got your data in here, hopefully. What we're going to do is we're going to come up here to file, and we're going to save as, and let's go video 8. That's the one I'm working on. We're going to save this as an XLSM. So it's right here. It's called Excel Macro Enabled Workbook. If you're using one of the free alternative spreadsheets, they probably have something similar. I'm not sure, but you'll probably have to do something similar like this. Otherwise, it might be in there already. But so we can come in here now, and we can go, and you see insert. I think it's under like developer. Is it? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, record macro. Look at that. Okay, so there we go. We have the macros. So now this is what we want to do. We want to have it so that what we're trying to do now, the problem we're fixing is we don't want to have to come over to this data tab every time we want to enter new data, right? We want to be able to have this dashboard entry form, and every time we click this button, which is what we're going to have after we make the developer, we record the macro, it's going to give us the option of creating a button. And that's, I think, right here. We insert a button, and we can click it right here. We want it to take all of this data and enter it over to here. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to come up here to the developer tab after we've inserted a row of data. In fact, let's just do that right now. Let's go 318. Oh, and we want to change these so that they're appropriate, just like over on the right one, or on the data tab. This one should be currency, and the rest of them are good. So let's go 3890, and that was on my Discover card, and we spent that at Amazon. And it was personal. Let's say it was like some sort of like wedding gift. There you go. Okay, so we've got the data there. You can make this bigger if you want. And so now what's going to happen is we're gonna come up here to the developer tab, and as soon as we click start, we're going to click record macro. And as soon as we do that, every single click, every single arrow key move, every single copy, paste, cut, inserting, data, like writing actual letters or numbers, everything is going to start being recorded into a macro, and Excel is going to automatically write the code for us into VBA, and so we don't ever have to actually look at it or anything, but it's just going to record it for us. And then from there, so anything we do, so what we want to do is we're going to record the macro, and then we're going to have all of this one at a time be copied and pasted over, or actually cut and pasted, or no, I guess it will be copy and pasted over to this. And we want to have it all automatic so that it doesn't, we don't want to, I'm going to have to kind of walk you through this, like like very carefully, because we can't just simply have it pasted into this bottom row, because if we do that, then every time we click the send button, it'll click the data and it'll keep putting it in this one row. So we got to be a little bit smarter than that. We got to actually like come up here and then use the shortcuts to go to the bottom one. And it's tricky. But so that's what we're going to do right now, okay? All right. I just spent like probably half an hour or so relearning this. Oh man. Okay, so here is how you do it. This is going to be tricky, okay? Because macros are so sensitive, you have to, I mean, just like formulas, you have to follow this exactly correctly, or else it won't work. It's so picky, which is a good thing, I guess, because you know you don't want it to be like sloppy. But so anyway, go ahead and if you have your new entry filled already, go ahead and fill it out with a new entry, okay? And we're going to test it out, and we want it to be pasted into all of these labels right here. And do that for every one of them. Even if like your label is blank, just keep it in there anyway in case you do want to have the label. Oh, by the way, I put the send button here. The way you do that is you come up to developer and you go to insert and then go to button and click that, and then you can like drag and let go and click it right here, and then you can right click it and edit text and put send in there, whatever else you want, and then adjust the size and everything. And then if it doesn't work for you, yeah, that's probably just because you don't have the macro yet. It might work, I'm not really sure, but you can just go ahead and ignore it if you can't do it, or if it's like not working or whatever. Just don't worry about it for now. Let's do the macro first, and then you can create the button and then assign it to that macro. So what we're going to do is go ahead and click record macro. I'm going to name it new entry. And then everything very carefully, except like time, you know, it won't record like this, you know, just moving your mouse around. But it will record clicks and types and cuts and pastes and everything. So the first thing you're going to do is click into date, that date, okay? And then Control C to copy it. And now we're going to go over to the data tab. And don't go directly to the space, okay? You're going to come over to the date up to the top here, and then you're going to go to Control down arrow, because that's going to, what it's recorded in the macro now is it's going to say, okay, we're going to go to this cell, this particular fixed cell, B2, or date is where it is. And actually, it's not even B2, it's actually where the, it's in the, like the top, it's the date, the row header date of the table. So now even if you get rid of this later, which I am actually going to, and I'll explain why later, but it's going to continue to reference that cell, and then it's going to go boom all the way to down to the bottom of the table. It's not going to go to this particular entry necessarily. It's just going to go to the bottom wherever that happens to be. And again, this is going to be adding on later, so that's a very important thing, that it goes all the way to the bottom instead of just to that particular cell. So that's what it's recorded. And now it's very important, before you do what's next, that you click use relative references. Now, I'm not even positive that I fully understand what exactly I just did, but it's just very important that you do that every time you have one. I guess it's, you know, whenever it's a relative reference. So now you click that button and go down arrow to the next one, okay? And now you can Control V to paste, and now you're gonna uncheck that, okay, because now we're going to go back to the dashboard, and we're going to Control copy the next entry, which is amount. We're going to Control C, and then come back to the data, and now we're going to use relative references again, right? Because we don't want it to be fixed. I don't fully understand why it has to be relative references at this point, but for some reason I think it does. So just very carefully follow along. It doesn't matter, I don't think, if you click it off before you paste it. You just paste it before you come back. And then come back after you clicked off the relative references, Control copy the next one, come back, relative references, right arrow, paste, uncheck relative references, come back, copy, relative references, right arrow, paste, uncheck relative references, go back to the dashboard, click that one, copy, go back to the data, relative references, right arrow, categories pasted in now, uncheck relative references, come back one more time, labels, copy, data, relative references, right arrow, paste. Okay, now we're not quite done because while we're still in the macro, right, it's still recording. I went ahead and turned off relative references. Now what we want to do is we don't want to just leave it at this, because if we did that, then as soon as the macro is done, now we're back at the data tab. Now that's not good. So now we're going to go back to the dashboard because that's where we want to end up, right? And in addition to that, we don't want this to be here anymore. We want it to clear out. So we're going to highlight all of that. I'm going to delete, click the delete key, and then click here because that's where we want to end up, so that we can repetitively, like we can enter every piece of the data, and then it'll end up back in that box so we can continue entering more data. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. The last thing that you want to do, and this is where your quick access toolbar really comes in handy, you're going to go to refresh all so that the pivot tables and everything will be refreshed. I'm going to even click it twice just because I want to make damn sure that I don't have to worry about this again. And then as soon as you've done that, then you do stop recording and you're good. Okay, so let's test it out. 318, that's the entry we just made. Let's make another one for like 321 or something. So 321, we're gonna do 44.98. We're gonna say Discover card, loaf and jug, gasoline, and send. Boom! There you go. So let's just make sure here. Looks like a new entry. It updated the amounts, obviously. Gasoline is now here. Everything's updated, including the pivot tables. And that is how to manage your money. That is the end of the tutorial. I am so sorry, my friends. I have it in my heart, but I'm not sure if I have it in my bones. I don't know if I have the energy to redo the tutorial and make it shorter. It went way longer than I wanted it to, but regardless, everything is there. You now know how to walk through every single thing that I created in my own worksheet to manage my own money. Now you have it for yourself. So I really hope that you got value from these videos. If you did, please, at the very least, leave me a comment about feedback, what you think I might have missed, or things that questions that you might have. Connect with me on Twitter. All the links are in the description. Let's see if there's anything else. Nope, I don't think so. Be sure to check out the description in case there is anything that comes up in my mind that I forgot about between now and posting the video. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.